This video is going to be different than my normal gameplay and highlights. It's going to be more of a tutorial around gameplay mechanics and aiming, how to get better at Tarkov in general. It will be timestamped, so it's going to be a longer video. If you already know about something, make sure to check the timestamps. You can find something that you want to know more about and skip to that. But other than that, I hope you enjoy the video, and if you have questions, make sure to ask in the comments or join my Discord and shoot me a DM, type in the general chat, I'll let you know. Okay, so first mechanic I'm going to talk about, recoil. How recoil works is your gun will climb upwards, then it will slowly come down a little bit. So when you're shooting, you would want to do the opposite to control the recoil. I would pull down and then go back up a little bit. If I don't control it, you can see it kicks about to the ceiling and then it comes down to here. So when I control it, this is what it looks like. So something that will greatly reduce your recoil is crouching. Crouching in Tarkov is basically just like a 50% recoil reduction, and this includes vertical and horizontal. So if I'm shooting normally, it's still like pretty accurate, but you can see there's a lot of like violent side-to-side shaking while I'm shooting. And then you throw in a crouch, big recoil reduction. I went from hitting like, I'd say like 70% of my shots to hitting like 90% plus. So the time to kill when you're hitting every bullet versus missing a couple is massive. Like, if you're shooting over any distance, like me to there, if I'm standing fighting a guy and I'm moving, you know, it can be a little bit random even if my aim's on. Like, there's sometimes a period in time where 3-4 bullets are missing, which is a very big deal because it may only take 3 or 4 chest shots to kill somebody. If I'm crouching, I'm hitting literally every bullet. So as long as my aim is on, you're going to insta-die if somebody has a good aim while crouching and controlling the recoil. So I'd say the most overlooked mechanic in the game is crouch shooting. I see a lot of people, they'll just swing stuff from out deep. They'll try to hit shots, and then sometimes you get lucky and your aim just hovers around the side, you miss shots and you die. If they were to just commit into a crouch swing, like say I carry my momentum, come out, I'm just hitting every shot, like you're gonna die instantly. I'd say crouching is the #1 mechanic in the game that is overlooked when it comes to shooting. A lot of people will try to stand shoot you from like long distances, and it's completely random. Like, if I get a kill here, it has nothing to do with how good my aim was. It's completely random. So you're basically just like relying on luck more than like your overall consistency. Like, I'm gonna try to shoot this white target right here on the left while walking and strafing. It's random, and I can't pull my aim onto the target because the game's recoil system is random. It's auto-compensated. Whereas if I were to try to shoot the target while crouching, you'll see it's a massive difference. Like, I would say I went from hitting like 20% accuracy to at least 50% on that. I'll do it again. Like, some bolts are going under him, some are going above. Crouching. Pretty big difference. Just a recap on recoil. You pull down, pull slightly back up, and crouching reduces it by a massive amount. So you're trying to shoot at targets and you start practicing that initial recoil, you can basically shoot in a flat line at any range. And the only randomness to your aim is your horizontal, because that is completely RNG. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's basically just luck. Like, it doesn't matter what your input is, you don't know the outcome. But once you practice a bit, the initial burst, you can get it down, and you can basically shoot in a flat line with any weapon. You can see the only like randomness to my aim is the gun's side-to-side recoil. Next thing we're going to break down is character pivot points. So how pivot points works is, if I am standing still, let's say I'm standing still looking here, but I want to look to my right now, right? I see a guy, I want to aim on him, I start painting my mouse, and all of a sudden there's this massive spot where my aim is skipping. If I'm trying to shoot a guy here and my aim is skipping, I'm not going to be able to kill him. So what fixes this is walking in any direction. If I am walking, my character no longer has a pivot point, and I can be holding any direction. Front, you can see I'm smooth panning my mouse. There's never a point in time where there's a major jump in my aim. But if I were to stand still, you can see there's a pivot point, a massive jump. You can see my character's legs moving a very big amount. So if you're ever trying to aim at somebody and all of a sudden you're getting this massive skip randomly. Oh god, I lost it. It's right here. This is my skipping point. Just input any sideways movement and your character won't pivot. And this also makes audio. So if I'm playing and I'm aiming at a guy, let's say I'm trying to kill this target. I'm waiting. He's walking by and all of a sudden my character pivots. This makes sound. Like, people can hear it when you pivot. And this will give you away, and then people will pre-aim you and kill you, and you'll be like, how does that guy know I'm there? It's because your character is pivoting. So, what you can do to get rid of this is, when you are turning while crouch walking, you walking in any direction at your lowest volume is going to be quieter than your character standing still, panning your mouse and pivoting. So, at any point, if you want to keep steady aim, if you want to remain quiet while somebody's walking by, just start walking in any direction. You will completely negate your character's pivot point, and it'll allow you to aim accurately. Another mechanic, holding breath. How holding breath works is, say I'm aiming at this target, I'm not moving my mouse. It's just randomly drifting around. What you can do is hold your breath. I think default keybind is Alt, mine is set to Shift. It allows your aim to sit steady. Holding breath only works while you're standing still. So if I'm holding my breath here and I start walking, even if I don't let go of my hold breath key, now my character's aim's drifting around randomly and I have to repress the key to hold my breath, and now it's steady. So something that you can do if you want to peek somebody without losing your character's hold breath for like the accuracy in your first shot is using leans. When I lean side to side, my character can still hold his breath, as you can see. So if I'm holding my breath, I lean, my aim's not moving, dead steady. So you can practice like tracking a target while leaning, while holding your breath. You can see it's like dead accurate. But if I were to walk, it's inaccurate. So if this is my piece of cover, this orange target, and I want to aim at this guy, the white target, if I walk out while holding my breath, I'm no longer holding my breath and have to repress the key, which is, you know, time spent aiming on the guy where he could be shooting you. So what you want to do is use leans. If I'm in cover, I hold my breath and I use my lean to peek this guy, I'm instantly on his head and I don't have to deal with aim sway, and it's a massive deal. Leaning can be tricky though. Leaning is one of the biggest mechanics in the game. I would say like, I wouldn't say I was new at the time, but the mechanic that made me significantly better at the game is timing character leans. So like something I see a lot of people do wrong, which it's like crazy. I'm talking people with like 5-10K hours plus that I watch stream this game, and they just like, it's just like instinct that they're just like playing bad and they don't understand what they're doing bad, is that they're walking out of their cover basically. So like if this is my enemy, they're like walking to here where they're completely exposed, and then they're leaning, but this lean doesn't do anything for you. That's just time spent where you have to readjust your aim to get on target, right? The only time you should be leaning is when it's moving your character model out of cover to be able to hit the guy, right? So if I'm walking out, he sees me and I lean, it's just downtime to where I'm not aiming steady. But if I'm walking to here, leaning, this is taking me out of cover while keeping my aim accurate. I'm completely safe in the animation of leaning until I'm out. So time your leans better to try to move out of your cover with them, which is something that takes a lot of practice, but it's a big deal. So big mechanic in the game, inertia and momentum. So how inertia works is if I'm walking in a direction and I want to change directions, there's a slowdown period. So if I'm walking to the right and I want to go faster to the left, I can walk forwards or backwards before I change directions. It's called like circle strafing. Basically allows you to move, change directions faster. Makes you a lot harder to hit than if you're walking, slow down, walking, slow down, walking. It's just, you're basically walking in circles. Circle strafing can work in any direction too. So say I'm moving forwards, I want to go backwards, walk to the side really quick, change directions. It's a lot faster than if I just went back and forth and had that slow down. Makes you a lot harder to hit. And then you can do this out of sprints too. So sprinting, normally you don't have inertia. Like I can just change directions instantly with no slowdown. But if I want to like sprint and then walk out, you basically just hold a sideways input right away. So I can be sprinting and then just immediately direction changing. So say I want to kill somebody like this target right here. This is my enemy. This is a doorway. That's a wall, that's a wall. This is the opening. I run in and I sprint check this. I spot this guy, right? I want to shoot him. I can sprint, carry my momentum out, and then shoot him right away while moving very fast. So like keeping your momentum makes you incredibly hard to hit for other people. Whereas if I just like walked in the room like this, he could kill me for free. I walk back out, he can kill me for free. But just really hard to shoot me, and I'm right back on him. It's very fast and it's hard to track. It can also be worth combining this with stuff like leaning. So say I'm moving out here and I want to shoot accurately. Maybe the dude's a little bit further back. He's this target. I can sprint in, spot him, lean out while shooting, hold my breath. You combine basically everything I just showed. It's like I'm crouching to reduce recoil, holding breath to get steady aim. I'm leaning off of the cover when I'm in cover. I'm sprint free looking to keep myself moving fast. You're combining like every mechanic to give yourself an advantage. You're hard to hit and you're very accurate. A common misconception that I've seen, I don't want to name names, but people have made videos on it, is when you're leaning. Say I'm leaning to this side, right? I'm going to walk to this side, and I'm going to start leaning to my left. People have told me that if I were to lean here and then lean in the opposite direction while moving, that I'll walk faster. As you can see, the camera looks like it's moving faster, but the time it takes to go from one wall to the other wall is exactly the same when I'm doing it while leaning. Because basically, all you have to think about is that my feet right here is like where my character's torso is, right? You can see my shadow, how I lean. It's basically, you're taking your head from this part of my shadow on the right to the left on top of your character's move speed, but your legs are not moving faster. It's just moving where your camera's at. So like your player's head might be a little bit harder to hit while you're doing this, but you're not actually clearing any gaps faster. So this does not make you move faster. It's just from your perspective. Another mechanic is jump shotting. So if I were to sprint and jump, my gun stays down to the left. I basically can't shoot people unless they were like lined up with where I'm moving, you know? Not very useful. But if I do a regular jump, let me get my gun out. My barrel stays up, as you can see. So I could jump and shoot accurately, quote unquote. It takes a little bit of practice. I haven't warmed up, but you can shoot accurately while jumping, as long as it's a regular jump. When the time to kill in this game is only one bullet, you know, I only got to hit one shot out of my HK while I'm jumping over a wall. Like if this, from this target to this target is a wall that's head height, and I'm jump shotting, like, that one shot is enough to kill him. And you can practice it. You still have to do like the normal character recoil. Like when you jump, it's like an 80% sensitivity reduction or like something crazy. Like it's pretty noticeable. Like it's at least a 50. Like if I do a swipe on my mouse pad, like I can do a 360 easily. But if I'm jumping, I do a full swipe, like just like 180. So it can be a little bit rough, especially if you're on a lower sense. It'd take more timing and like pre-aiming, but you can jump shot accurately in this game. And something you can do, like let's say I'm getting shot randomly by a guy who just like ratted me from a bush, right? I can sprint out, jump, do a regular jump, and I carry all my momentum from that sprint jump into a side jump. So it's like a direction change midair. I'm moving really fast and I'm shooting accurately. And like I said, one bullet to the head, that guy's dying. You can also do this in any direction. So like if I'm running to the right, jump. You're keeping your character momentum. All it is sprint, jump. You're letting go of sprint and jumping sideways. You can jump backwards too, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. It's just the jump where you want to shoot, you don't want to be sprinting. And you can use your sprint to carry your momentum. So. Very useful. Definitely more advanced, like harder to do, but you can get used to it pretty fast. So, something more advanced that you can do. I have some people comment about this. They think I'm using like macros or whatever, but I'm pretty against macros. I think they're lame. It's just like an exploit. It's not intended to be in the game. What you can do is you can basically like jiggle peek corners and lean faster. It's like if I were to walk out and circle strafe, like around this corner, you know, my character model is going to be moving relatively slow when I go around this, like this corner. I'd be easy to shoot. But if this was a wall and I walk out and I lean out and then I walk in at the same time, so what you can do is that you take this time period of when you can direction change after standing still and you input a lean. When I'm leaning in this time period, I can't do anything while I'm stopped. So I input my lean and I walk in at the same time. It basically allows me to jiggle peek a corner on somebody, which allows me to get info really fast. Like I can walk out, lean, and move back in at the same time. From the enemy's perspective, you're moving really fast and you're not on their screen for that long. You don't even need to get an accurate shot on someone, right? Like I'm not doing this to like get a kill on somebody necessarily, but like if I'm walking out and I just spot the guy like that, like, okay, now I know this dude's here off of this piece of cover. Got my info. And now I can re-swing out and pre-fire. So it gives you a lot of free info and you're really hard to hit. You're just leaning or you're walking, stop, lean, walk in. You can see it's a very fast head movement. Gives you a lot of info. And then once you practice it a bit more, you could like basically sprint free look into a room, spot the guy, lean out, crouch, hold breath, control recoil, like do everything at once. Just the more mechanics you can practice, you can put them together. And yeah, it's really useful. I do it all the time. So, just the general consensus of like aiming, right? You can have very good aim in this game. Like, if you play a lot of CS, you play a lot of whatever shooter. Like, if you have good aim, you have good aim. But Tarkov's recoil is very random. So, like, if you're going to flick from here to here, you're like, okay, and then you start shooting, and that's what your aim does. It's like, it doesn't matter how good your aim is if you can't control the recoil. So finding a good sense in this game is pretty important. I would say, generally, playing on a low ADS sense makes the game a lot easier. I used to play on high sense. I can still go to high sense. I play other games on high sense, like Quake, whatnot. I'm not great at that game, but I enjoy playing it. But playing on a high sense is just not good for Tarkov when it comes to aiming. There's a lot of precise movements. Like if I'm trying to hit this headshot, like, and I'm running around on a high sense, like these little adjustments can be a lot harder to make. And when I'm tracking a smaller target like that, if I'm trying to hit my shots, being on a high sense, it's going to be rough. Sensitivity in general is personal preference. So if you're better on high, stay on high, do your thing. But playing on a lower ADS sense is a very big deal in this game. You want to find something that feels smooth for you. I would never go into somebody's like chat or their settings and try to copy their settings because everybody's different, right? Some people have a claw grip. Some people use palm grip on their mouse. So like covering their whole mouse versus their fingers are more jagged into it versus I play like a fingertip. So my mouse doesn't really touch my hand at all. It's just my fingertips are on the mouse. Like everybody's different. Every setting is personal preference. But I would say having a general lower aim sensitivity than your normal walk around free look sensitivity is a very good idea if you play high sense. Something's gonna be better for you than it is for me, vice versa. Some people are really good on high sense, some people are good on low sense. So when you're finding your sensitivity, if it feels off, change it based on how it feels for you, not how like other people play, right? Like if you copy Shroud's sense, you're not gonna have Shroud's aim, you know? Like he's good on that sense because he practices on it. He probably didn't play on the same sense all the time, right? If he flicks here and he's like, oh, I overflicked, right? Well, then maybe I want to lower it a little bit. Like change it based on how it feels. If you're doing like a small incremental change by like 10, 20%, you're going to get used to it in like 20 minutes, if that. It's not going to affect your aim. There's not going to be like any long-term downside. So find a sense that works best for you. Try not to copy other people's. And yeah, you should improve. If you want to get better at aiming, something like the firing range that I'm in right now is massive. I know the game's about to wipe, so you're gonna have to rebuild it. Unfortunate. But if you were to play a game like Kovacs or any other shooter, you're not throwing in Tarkov aim sway, you're not throwing in holding breath, you're not throwing in recoil. Like there's so many aspects of Tarkov that are specific to the game, to where if you're good at one shooter, you may be good at like all shooters, but it's not going to transfer to this game. It's like the same thing with like CSGO, right? If you play a lot of CS, you can probably bring those skills to other games, but if you've never played CS and then you try to play it, you're going to get slammed because you don't know how the recoil works. The game's not very like hand-holdy. It's like the games have their own gimmicks to where when you're new to that game, it doesn't matter how good you are, you're not going to be able to like perform well while you're playing it. Tarkov's the same way. You could be a very good FPS player, but you just can't play Tarkov because you haven't put in the time to learn the mechanics. So something like the firing range, you're able to take every single mechanic that you already know about shooters, and you can throw it in with Tarkov movement. So if I hop on Kovacs and I flick from here to here, it's like, you know, you'll be on target, center screen, but then if you're walking, you have to deal with Tarkov aim sway. So if I flick on target and then all of a sudden my aim's out here, it's like, you know, Kovacs isn't teaching me that Tarkov's aim has sway. So I'd say use the range more often, shoot the targets. When you're playing a raid in Tarkov, what percentage of your raid are you actually sitting there shooting an enemy player moving around where you're getting practice, right? Like, if this target right here is a player, how often do you have a guy just walking out in the open, letting you shoot him and practice your tracking? Like, almost never. It's 1% of your gameplay where you're actually shooting. So I would say if you're new to the game or you want to get actual better aim or practice mechanics and you're sleeping on the firing range, it's like you are crutching yourself. Definitely hop in the range, practice on the targets. It'll help you practice your flicks, like just staying accurate, your recoil, flick on a target and then track. Like I do this all the time on stream. Anyone who watches me live knows this. Like you're basically able to take like an aim trainer and put it in Tarkov with Tarkov mechanics. Now have the aim drift of Tarkov. I'm walking to the side, my aim drifts. Circle strafing, your movement, whatever you want to do. Like the range is giving you unlimited ammo to where you can practice any specific mechanic you want to, right? Oh, I want to practice recoil because I'm not good at it. Well, now I have unlimited ammo and I can shoot this target. So I would say if you're not using the range, you're new to Tarkov, I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. Like I can't express it more. Like the firing range, just as like practice, has let me do so much in this game. If I die in Tarkov, I learned nothing. Maybe it was just like a really bad death. I gotta wait 5 minutes kitting up, 5 minutes loading into raid, and then I die off spawn. It's irritating, right? You spend so little of the game actually fighting people. So having something like the range, where I can just shoot a target, practice tracking, flicking, tracking, like you're doing a bunch of stuff that you wouldn't be able to do in the actual raid as often. This will make you improve very fast. If you're playing the game, there's a lot of random stuff that can happen that are purely based on luck, right? Like, you can fight a guy who doesn't know how to control his recoil. His aim's bad. He just foot shots you, kicks to your head, hits you one time, kills you. He's aiming over here. You shoot him. He gets aim kicked onto your head. One bullet, you die, right? So a lot of things can happen. Just because you got the kill or you survived the raid doesn't mean you played well, and vice versa. You can play perfect and lose the fight. You can play horrible and win the fight. The game's laggy. There's definitely cheaters in the game. There's a lot of luck that plays into everything. Best thing you can do is practice consistency. It's like if you have good aim, why would you practice having this bouncy bullet where you're barely hitting any shots, right? You want to make sure that you're crouching when a guy's far. So do whatever you can practice that when you do the same thing again, you're actually improving on. Like consistency is super key. If you want to get better at the game, you have to play it. Like just because you watch one video, it's like you're not going to instantly do every mechanic, right? Just because you're like, oh, you can jump shot in this game, it doesn't mean you're going to hit all your shots. Like, if I'm not warmed, if I'm not doing jump shots, I'm not going to hit my jump shots. But if I practice for a bit, if I was playing all day, I go for them, it's like you're going to hit more shots, you know? Just consistency. So if you want to get better at tracking, right? Tracking would be putting your aim on target and following it as it moves. So like if your aim's looking like this, or like you're really shaky, you can't get on target, think about how you're misaiming. Like if every time I'm trying to track, I'm behind the target, right? My sense might be a little bit too low. Every time I'm tracking, I'm in front of it, maybe it's a little bit too high. If you're just around the target, but you're a little bit shaky, like my aim's not perfect, but sometimes it's a little shaky. You just got to practice your consistency. So some things a lot of people do when they play aim trainers and they're like getting new to stuff, they'll realize like, oh, I'm gripping my mouse too hard, right? You're like hyper focusing, you're gripping your mouse, you're pressing it into your mouse pad. It's making your movements a lot shakier. Like it'd be a lot easier to aim precise when you're pressing your mouse into your mouse pad, but if you're like tracking, maybe it's a little bit too much friction. It's making your aim shaky. Just like, you don't even have to track the target. Just try to pan your mouse in a smooth motion. Try to match the speed, the target, and then try to line it up. Like you're not gonna have perfect aim. There's parts where my aim goes off center. Maybe I don't catch it when it changes directions right away, right? But just practice tracking makes a very big difference. Try not to grip your mouse too hard. And if you just do it a lot, you'll get better at it for sure. And then flicking, moving your mouse over large distances. Remember, Tarkov does have character pivoting. So if your pivot points off, reset by moving in a central area and you'll be able to flick between targets. When you're shooting in this game, there is a reset period on recoil. So like if I'm clicking really fast, there's a time where like if I click really fast over and over again, my aim's not resetting, right? Sometimes it bounces left, sometimes it bounces right. If you're spam firing, it's random. So when you shoot, you can see there's a point in time to where it actually goes back center. Like that's roughly the tempo. You shoot this quick. If I'm shooting faster than that, there's a little bit of like randomness to the targets where like I could be aiming in the center of my screen, right where I should be, but I'll still miss the shot. But just consistency, try to aim, go through trying to shoot all these targets and you'll get better at it. Like everyone misses, you're not going to be perfect at it. As you can see, like still missing a target like every time. But you can basically do everything here. This is better for like flicking, just hitting like your one shots on your targets that you're going for. This is better for tracking. Something you can do is turn on poppers, shoot a couple of them, right? Like say I shoot out these and then I hit escape before they come back up. Now they're all set down. I can turn on my targets and now I can be like, okay, well, I want to practice shooting from here to here. I want to practice my flicks, right? And then I want to go from flicking to tracking. There's a lot of utility in the range to get better in. A mechanic for tracking that is extremely easy to use, but it requires a little bit of timing that some players may not be used to, is matching somebody's strafe. This works in every single first-person shooter known to man. Basically how it works, right? There's a character move speed. If this is moving at the same exact speed as me, right? If I'm matching the strafe of this target, he's always going to be in the center of my screen regardless if my hand is on my mouse, right? So basically, as long as I can tell which way he's going to move, if he just commits to a really wide strafe where he's going to cross this entire room and I know he's going to do it, I can match his strafe. I'm basically shooting him, hitting every single bullet without missing. I don't even have to move my mouse. The only thing you have to keep in track is character aim sway, like how when I walk it moves a little bit. You get that down and you can basically just aim on target, hit every bullet. You're not even having to like move your mouse that much. This entire period where he's crossing the room, I'm hitting every shot. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave some feedback. It's different than what I usually do, but I'd be open to do more in the future. There's only so many topics I can cover about the game in general, but I can always go back over them. And yeah, let me know if you like it. Also, I do live stream basically every single day with occasional days off, but I let people know through the Discord. And wipe will be happening soon, so it'll be hard for me to edit and upload videos, but I will be live every day on Twitch. streaming the early wipe gameplay. So if you want to see that, make sure to come by, and I'll probably be live.